Hey, spots. How's everybody doing? We're
Hey
live.
everyone.
Yeah, we're live with a celebratory episode, which is also going to include some lab work, right, Steve? Like analyzing or at least giving.
Everyone. We're gonna be analyzing everyone and send back the results. No, I'm kidding. Um, but yeah, I'm Steven. This is Dan, my dad, and this is Yes Shift. We talk about Yes, its members, people who've worked with them, and yeah, like he said, celebrating today, uh, Benoît David's birthday. One of the Yes vocalists. He was with Yes from 2008 to 2012. And so for this episode, we're focusing on what we thought of his singing on the live album In the Present, live from Lyon, and also, I guess, that era in general, if we'd like. And people can chime in with their thoughts. Did you see Benoît David perform live with Yes or otherwise? Just share your memories and feel free. But yeah, that was an interesting era for the band, wasn't it, Dad? That lineup with Benoît and Oliver, like
Yeah,
joining the
it,
seasoned guys.
it was, and I think unfortunately, and this has nothing to do with the current lineup when I say this, but I think unfortunately there may have been a missed opportunity there with Benoit having the health issues with his vocals. And I say missed
Right.
opportunity because they really sounded good. I mean, there was some magic there. There really was. And it was kind of that thing just when you think like maybe Yes is going to evaporate again. There's this lineup, there's Fly From Here, some resurrected music from 1980 that carried over. And there was really some cool stuff there. And a great tour. We saw the show. And a great live album and live from Lyon, and we'll get into that. But I'll get into it now. When you listen to that album, and it's been a while for me, and in studying up for this episode, I was a bit floored by most of it in most ways, not just Benoit's voice, but one of the biggest things, and I'm curious to get your take on this, and anybody else watching or listening. One of the biggest things I noticed was all of these songs. If you're a Yes fan at all of these songs you've heard a live version of before, and probably, right? I think that's pretty fair to say.
Yeah.
But what I noticed was the everything seemed a bit slower than any other version I heard, and it seemed like they were presenting the music in a very measured way, and it sounds really good. Like none of them sound like that's too slow, but it did catch my attention where a few times, like Tempest Fugit, Astral Traveler, I'm looking at the list here, Siberian Kachoo, where I thought, oh, that's slower, like very noticeably slower, but was nice and solid and steady, and it's a big fat sound. This is one of the best live drum sounds I've heard on a recording by Alan, actually. I may be rivaling, if not better than on keys, I think, which I think
Wow,
is
that's really high praise coming from you.
yeah, it is. I admit it because I'm, being a drummer for 54 years now, I'm a little critical about that, especially my favorites. I want them to sound good. And Alan has always sounded good, except on one tour that I saw. But then I heard recordings from that tour and they sounded great. And that was the Talk tour at the Greek. I've complained about it before, but other than that, it's always sounded good. But the sounds of the instruments, the production of this, the quality of the recording, the slowed down paces of pretty much almost all the songs, it makes it a different show. And maybe that was part of it. I don't know. But then there's one other thing I want to cite, and I'll give you some room. And I'd like to get other people's thoughts. I had completely, because I hadn't listened to this in a while, I forgot about the song Order. And it's kind of a seesaw, if I may. You start out with Siberian Kachoo. That's a surprise. That's not predictable. But then it goes to All Good People. And then it goes to
Your
Temper.
favorite.
Yeah. And then it goes to Onward. And then it goes to Astral Traveler. And then yours is now. It's a bit of a very unpredictable set list. And I was joking about Siberian Kachoo, but everything from Siberian Khatru to the second to last song, which is Roundabout and then Starship Trooper, everything else is like a big surprise, like whoa, and pulling out Machine Messiah and Tempest Fugit. Real treats, especially considering they played Astral Traveler, they played Onward. You got probably one of the best cross sections, Owner of a Lonely Heart, cross sections of Yes, rivaling the 35th anniversary tour, I think. So, what are your thoughts on all that? The sound, the
Yeah.
pacing of the song, the set list, the order?
Yeah. So I didn't check if this track order was the exact set list. It's possible they could have shifted a couple things around. But yeah, I agree. The 35th anniversary tour is probably, I would say, had the most surprises in recent memory in terms of what it included, at least in songs from Sangas. But yeah, on here you've like they dug up drama stuff and Astral Traveler, and like you said, you get these major shifts between eras. Like you go from Owner of a Lonely Heart to South Side of the Sky, and it's like, wait, what? Like, what's going
Right.
on?
And
Uh,
no cover songs. This is like the first tour of many, many with no cover songs.
oh yeah, because they do America quite a bit on some of the tours. Yeah,
Yeah. And they've done Beatles
yeah, every little thing.
and
Um,
Smoke on the Water, as we discovered on April 1st. Smoke on the Water.
yeah,
And I wonder how many people are privy to that, what that reference is.
no, yeah,
What was the other
that
one?
was even more hilarious in hindsight, given the
Oh,
recent news that Yes are going to tour with Deep Purple.
right. That was hilarious. How prophetic was that episode?
Yeah, and also I think on the Steve Howe episode we did where we talked about Tomorrow, I think I may have forgot to mention that they covered the Beatles on there as well, Strawberry Field. But yeah, no cover songs on here.
And I
And
want to throw in a comment real quick because we always appreciate when people participate. But Harry Whitley says controversial, but I think Fly From Here is my favorite Yes album. You know,
it's high
I
praise.
yeah, and I love that album too, both versions of it. I loved the Benoit Oliver version, I really did. But what's interesting to me, Harry, is when I hear things like that, my curious mind wants to know, if you don't mind, how old are you and what was your Yes entry point? Because sometimes that explains some things that makes it a lot less controversial. If your first Yes album and tour that you saw was Fragile and you saw them every year since then, I'm exaggerating, who has? But then this makes that even more of a whoa moment. So I'm real curious, Harry, if you don't
Yeah.
mind, how old you are and what your Yes entry point was.
Yeah, and Harry's a great singer. He's done some of those Asia covers that we've seen.
Wow, I'm
He's one of them.
unaware. Am I
Yeah.
having a brain fart or is this something?
Yeah, I think I've shown maybe at least a couple to you and mentioned them on the
Oh,
show, but
wow.
that was a while back. But yeah,
Okay.
thanks for tuning in, Harry.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, Fly From Here, like most of it is Jeff on keyboards, but you're right, Oliver is like on a couple tracks, and then later you have the like Trevor Horn version of Fly From Here. And like we've said on the show, we like for there to be like maybe a little box set release that has both versions, because with several years of this being out of circulation, it would be a good time to do that. It's a cyclical thing that happens with various music releases. Like it comes out and then it's out of circulation for a while and then comes back in. And I know for a fact there are people hungry for the Benoit David version again. So just having it all in one neat package, maybe throw in live tracks from the Fly From Here tour if there's anything usable.
Oh, yeah, and
I think,
footage.
yeah, like that would be a good package there.
Yeah.
Um,
One more comment, if I may, Steve. Here's Gilly Good News, who follows us, says, "Hi guys, what is your favorite mystery song by Benoit?" That's interesting.
Yeah, we talked about Mystery a couple years ago. I think I would have to look at their songs.
Me too. I'd have to refamiliarize myself with the material, but that's a deep
Yeah,
cut right there. That's a great song. That's a great trivia question.
yeah, that's a great band, Mystery.
Yeah. What is yours, Gilly? What's yours?
Yeah, and I remember really loving what I heard from mystery when we talked about it. So I might need to revisit that at some
Yeah.
point.
I think that
But
was a year ago for his last birthday that we did that. Oh, it's his birthday today, by the way. Happy birthday, Benoit.
no, I think a year ago we did the thing where we were like asking people if you could create a track list that includes stuff from a page and Fly From Here, what would it be?
Oh,
So I think the mystery conversation was probably 2 years ago, if I remember correctly.
okay. And Gilly is looking for, I guess he was fishing for some advice because he's going to dig into that. He says he's never heard them, but yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
It's good
so
stuff.
yeah, I definitely recommend it. And yeah, like you said, the recording on here, the pacing is noticeably slower, but the lineup is what it is, and they gotta adapt how they can. And I think initially when this album came out, it came with a DVD that included those interviews and a couple live cuts, footage, which I think can be found on YouTube, but I don't think is like the visual quality is representative of how it might have looked on the DVD. But yeah, later on they re-released the live stuff in this box set with From a Page, and so the audio tracks at least. So it's really cool to have that as part of that set. I'm showing the cover art for people. It's really good stuff. And it's funny you mentioned Keys to Ascension, because the album art for Live from Lyon is reminiscent of that, especially with the shade of blue that's used.
Yeah.
And I remember at some point during college, I was doing some work and listening to some music, and I think it was on shuffle, and I think it went to the Live from Lyon version of Starship Trooper. And at first I thought it was because I saw the cover art, I thought it was the Keys to Ascension version. I took a quick glance and thought it was Keys to Ascension, and then once the voice came in, I was like, wait a minute, this isn't John Anderson. Oh, it's the Benoît David version.
Well, that's interesting. I do want to get into some voice comparisons. Not that that's a necessity or anything, but I do have some comments about that. But before we get to that, there's a few parts of a few songs where Benoit's voice is really way up there. And I'm looking to you, Steve, to remind me, because I think you were part of this conversation. Maybe either I read this, or I don't think it's in Steve Howe's book that we just reviewed, but either I read it from an audiobook or I read it in writing. Or did Nigel Glockler mention this when we interviewed him Wednesday? We had a side chat with him.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure.
About Benoit wanting to adjust some keys and the band didn't let him. The band said, no, we're not going to do that. Do you know what I'm referring to?
that wasn't when we talked with Nigel. So that may have been in like something we read, maybe the autobiography or an article or something. That does sound kind of familiar.
Okay, interesting. Harry also chimes in with that answer to our question. First intro to Yes, probably the hits, but my piano teacher introduced me to drama, then Asia, then I found Fly From Here. Cool. So I'm guessing he's probably not an ancient person like I am. He's probably a younger gentleman like you. Possibly.
Yeah. The ancient. Yeah.
I am the ancient of the two, yes.
Yeah, but in terms of the voice comparisons, as I was listening to this, there were moments where, for example, on And You and I thought to myself, well, this kind of sounds like comparable to the studio version of And You and I, with the young John Anderson way back then.
Well, in South Side of the Sky, if someone told me that was an older Yes bootleg, other than the more modern production, I would have believed it. His voice sounds amazing on that. Yeah, his voice sounds amazing on that. And the drama stuff, he sounds amazing as well. He really does. I mean, I think he sounds good throughout the whole thing, but there's some points there's a lot of wow moments, I think. I really do.
Yeah, definitely. I was kind of surprised how on Yours Is No Disgrace, when they go into that quieter moment, the yesterday morning.
Yeah.
I was kind of surprised how high Benoit was singing that part, because I think I'm used to that part being in a bit of a low, sung in a slightly lower way. So that was kind of a surprise on there.
I agree. And there's Gary's comment about From a Page. And thank goodness for Oliver for putting that together. That's really a wonderful piece of work.
Yeah, like as great as Benoit was on Fly From Here, it feels, creatively that album feels very Trevor Horn driven, even before he added his vocals over Benoit's. So From a Page to me feels like a better representation of that in the present lineup in the studio, because it's just that lineup. And Oliver like is did great stuff, especially on Starship Trooper on this version.
Yeah.
And we're actually having Oliver on a live stream performance and Q&A over at Drum Talk TV Brilliance. The first 10 minutes will be available to people on the Drum Talk TV Facebook and YouTube pages, and the full thing will be viewable to members of that website.
And we'll probably, I mean, there's no reason why we can't make the first 10 minutes or whatever it's going to be, 10, depending on the timing of when he ends that piece, 10 minutes or so, 10 to 15 minutes, also available on the Yes Shift Facebook and YouTube channels.
Yeah.
And you can join now. You can join during the show if you want to see the rest of it, and you'll be emailed when you join. You'll be emailed a link. So if you join now, you'll be emailed the link an hour before the show tomorrow. If you are watching the first 10 minutes and you join, an autoresponder will give you a password and how to get into your account and the link. And what's important about that is it's going to be in a 3D space. I should have had that to pull up. It's going to be in a 3D space, which all of our concerts and Q&As are on a theater screen. One's in a big glass bubble in the Alps. One that we did is in space. Oliver's is a brand new theater that we're debuting called the Sand Dome Theater. And you can move around, you can navigate it. You don't need big, expensive, special goggles. You can access it on a smartphone, a tablet, a PC, or a laptop. It's a lot of fun. You can create an avatar. You can sit with someone you know, or just navigate around yourself, or click a button and it's just 2D. If you're an old guy like our President Jeff, who just couldn't handle the navigation, he's like, why is everything upside down? So he just clicked the button so he could see it 2D. But Oliver is not only going to play, and this is kind of funny, cute to me. I love the guy, love his music. He's a great guy. He said, is it okay if I tell some stories between songs as well?
Yeah.
I'm like, what were we? No. I thought it was so nice of him to ask, but of course that's welcome. So we're going to get a personal exclusive performance by Oliver playing music from, he said, possibly from a Page. He named a couple other albums.
I think he said possibly from Ravens and Lullabies and 3 Ages of Magic.
Yeah,
and I remember he said those for sure. So we'll see what he does.
And he'll tell some stories in between songs. So we're really super looking forward to that. We'd love for you to join us. And even if you just join the first 10 or 15 minutes at no obligation, but I can tell you this, there will be other Yes and Asia type members, really members, not just type, well. Joining us and many other. We've spoken to so many people that are going to come on, big artists that you know, maybe some that you don't know, and it's a great way to discover new music. So we're really excited about that. I want to add another comment up here on the screen from Visualize Prague. A great mystery song for Yes fans to check out is, Chameleon Man, which features a guest keyboard solo from Oliver. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to refresh myself on that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, and people can check out drumtalktvbrilliance.com. And there's also, if you watch live, there's a Q&A section where people will be able to ask Oliver a question directly. They can show up on the screen if they want.
Yeah.
Or they can relay the question, but that's for members. It's an exclusive, but yeah. And
check it out, folks. We got a lot of big stuff. We're debuting. If I could just jump in with one more item on that. April 27th, a Saturday, we're debuting a brand new game show that we have. That's for all music fans. It's not just drummer centric, this membership site. It's for all kinds of music fans, all different genres of music. And we have a fun game show that we've been working on that we're debuting. And then we're debuting another one each month over the next at least 3 months. We have at least 4 game shows. Really fun stuff. Really fun. Away from all the drama and not the band or the music drama, but the active drama that we're all exposed to, and ads scrolling on, all our favorite social platforms. It's a private environment where I'm in charge. Okay. I'm the founder. I say what we do and what we don't do, and we don't have ads. Okay. And no drama allowed other than maybe the music from that album. There, I'm done.
Right. Yeah, but now that we're done with that ad, is there any getting back to Live from Lyon? To be honest, there were a couple of tracks where I felt Benoit's singing was kind of buried in the mix. I couldn't really hear him on Corkscrew or Second Initial. You could only hear Steve Howe's playing.
That's so funny. Steve Howe's solo songs. And that was a surprise. Second Initial and Corkscrew's a really deep cut, but Second Initial, that was really neat to hear.
Yeah. Well, funny enough, there is, I don't know if you remember how this sounded, but there is a version of Corkscrew that had vocals on it from the Tormato era. It was a bonus track, and it was called Countryside, and had John Anderson singing lyrics on there, as well as Steve and Chris as well, if I remember correctly.
Really? I didn't remember that.
But yeah, it would have been quite a surprise even if today, if they do something where like Steve Howe plays Corkscrew and they sing those obscure lyrics, that would be a huge surprise.
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
Yeah, but do you have a favorite Benoit song moment out of this track list? Like, is there what song would you say was the standout performance for him?
I'm looking at the list. I really was impressed with so much of it that I'd say South Side of the Sky might have been the biggest surprise, and both the drama songs, Machine Messiah and Tempest Fugit.
Yeah, I think for me, it's Machine Messiah is definitely high up there. Benoit does a good job all throughout this, but I think the standouts for me are Machine Messiah and Astral Traveler. And I love how when we saw him in 2009, and he's done this in other shows as well, I believe. Like during Machine Messiah, he would do this thing where he points the neck of a guitar to the audience and does like a type thing. Like I thought that was like really fun showmanship right there.
Yeah, I have a confession though, and you will not be surprised.
Okay.
Do you want to guess what it is?
You've never listened to any Yes in your entire life.
No. No, but I did skip over All Good People.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So for those who don't know, that's kind of It's a Small World song. Like, I understand the song. I know that it's a piece of hippie history. I know it's iconic of that period of the music generation, the rock generation, the peace generation, the prog generation, and all of that. But I just there's 50 other Yes songs I'd rather insert in that slot in concert at this point. That's all. And I know some people feel that way about Roundabout. I still enjoy live Roundabout though, as long as the middle
Owner of a Lonely Heart as well.
Yeah, you're right. And I don't mind that because that represents their real resurrection. If it wasn't for that song, and if it wasn't for Trevor Horn really pushing that on them and saying, this is going to be it, this is going to be it, they almost didn't do it. It's hilarious. If you read Trevor's book, Adventures in Modern Recording, and he tells that story, that alone is worth buying the book. I had no idea that was going on behind the scenes, and that almost didn't happen. We might not have this show or be having this conversation if that album or that song never came out. That's truth too.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to think about. I do think that even without Owner, there was still really strong material on that album, like Changes, for example. But I do.
How does that one go? No, I'm kidding.
Changes. Can't face a strange changes. So I am kind of curious, like how different would things have been without the song? But
I'll
yeah,
tell
like it
you, I
basically
think
made
I
history.
know. I think I know how different things would have been. They would not have become the genre or generational crossover they did become with that song, because that song was played on stations that had never played a Yes song before. And
Mm.
there are people who I've spoken to where somehow Yes came up in the conversation, and that's the only thing they knew about Yes, like, oh, Owner of a Lonely Heart. Or if I say, you know, the band Yes, they're like, and I go, Owner of a Lonely Heart, like that's the song to go to if it's someone under 70 that might not be familiar with Roundabout for whatever reason. So I really think that was the game changer for them. And they had, in all reality, no offense to anybody, but they had their a first member that girls were interested in, you know, for the 2 weeks I was in the band. No, when Trevor Rabin joined, that also changed the whole look and the whole, you know, it
Yeah.
really was a game changer in so many ways for them.
Yeah, and I do remember there was this interview with Billy where someone really young asked Billy to sign I think his solo albums or some of his work outside of Yes, and he asked them like how did you like get into all this stuff, and the person said they'd listened to Owner of a Lonely Heart and then I guess research from there, and the rest was history. So it really can go a long way, surprisingly.
Yeah, it's a gateway drug for sure. Here's a couple comments going back to Visualize Prague. Astral Traveler on the Lyon show is the ultimate version of that song. Wow, that is high praise indeed. Now, I wonder how much of that Visualize Prague you're weighing as a percentage of that statement being the production and how good the music is as well as Benoit's voice. I
Yeah.
think it's a combination of all that, but I'd love to know. And then
I do love how Alan threw in like a little drum solo in the middle of it
yeah,
when we saw him. That was cool.
yeah, absolutely. Robert says all props to John Davidson, but Benoit was more willing to be a bit gritty, which made the drama material work better live. That's what Nigel Glockler told us the other day.
Mhm.
Of course, that may be what did his voice in near the end of his tenure, but he was epic on Machine Messiah. So my reference there to Nigel was
No,
Nigel.
Dad.
Yeah,
So, um, sorry, what was I gonna say? Yeah, I think Benoit, like in some places, he does sound a bit like John, but he also like sometimes sounds like Trevor Horn, and um, but you can definitely tell that it's him. Sorry, I had this thought and I was trying to
that's okay.
remember like what it was, um, but yeah, like he does do the drama material justice, and um like there are different styles of like how to do these songs, and you can tell like which singer does the songs. But I feel like if you showed like each of these versions to different um like if you showed them to more casual people who aren't as into like what the or who aren't as well versed in what the Yes material and discography is, they might think, "Oh, it's the same singer here." Like, especially if you
Yeah,
don't
if they
know the
don't
whole era
know.
and whatnot.
Yeah, it's that close to where if someone didn't know, they wouldn't know, if that makes sense.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. No, his work on the drama stuff was absolutely surprising. But in a way, maybe not, because of Fly From Here. You know, he had to do, not that he tried to sound like Trevor on that, but his voice absolutely fit that music.
Yeah, I vaguely remember like a long time ago when we had Fly From Here, the album playing, and like you asked me, is that Trevor singing or is it Benoit? So like at
Right. I
that
wasn't
point,
sure which version it was. Yeah.
yeah, well, it was even way before the Trevor version
Oh,
was even a
really?
thing, I think. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, so that's kind of funny. And I think even before the album came out and I heard like the samples of it, like the preview samples. I even wondered if it was Trevor singing on those songs and Benoît on the rest of the songs. But yeah, it was Benoît on that version.
Yeah, and Sounds and Visions HQ, thanks for joining us and asking the question. He says, is Benoit totally retired from the music business? I believe so. I believe he's been making boats again, which is what he did before, yes. And I don't think he's doing anything else. I don't think.
I vaguely remember reading somewhere that he might be part of like a choir or like some local thing that involves music. Like it's not like a big touring outfit type thing. But yeah, he's basically retired from the music industry, from what I understand. And we have in the past reached out a couple of times, and he knows that he's welcome to come on if he ever wants to do an interview. The offer is always on the table, but by that same token, I would also respect if he feels that he's already said all he needs to say about his music career. It's totally understandable either way.
Yeah, and I don't know if he's seen episodes or not. I'm connected with him on Facebook, and I don't know what he's seen, but there's a very high probability, like with a lot of artists, that they don't know what to expect, and they don't know if someone like us is going to put the screws to them, or which we never would do. Like there's some bozos out there would say, so do you think you sound like John Anderson? There's just some people that ask dumbass questions, and we're not like that. We're not like that. This is a fun, enjoyable forum. And when we have guests on, it's so that they can open up to whatever degree they want or not. And we never have trick questions. That's not what we do,
Yeah. And like, it's fine if people have their own preference of like, which musician or which era or whatever, but it's all about being respectable, and we enjoy all the vocalists who've been in Yes. So yeah, they each have their merits, and we enjoy like what we hear from them, and any conversation that we'd have with any of them would be, it would be a safe space. We just want to like have a nice conversation, talk about their career and what they like to do. Like, yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Visualize Prog says much fuller sound on Lyon version of Astral Traveler. You can hear more interplay between the instruments, and Benoit sings it great. Right. I'm gonna have to listen to that one again.
Yeah. So is there anything else that kind of surprised you about this live album?
No, I think, like you said, the artwork was kind of a surprise how close it was to keys, but the song order, the songs, the variety, the pace of the songs, and how good the production was. Not that I had limited expectations, but they surpassed the expectations I had. And again, I use keys as that benchmark. I think some of this sounds at least as good as keys as far as the production. Yeah. And that's different when you compare a live album production to a live album production versus a studio album and studio album production wise. It's a whole different thing. I think it even says more in a way. So I think it sounds amazing.
Yeah. And Heart of the Sunrise, is also part of this. And it kind of reminded me that, at the time when we saw them in 2009, that was my first Yes concert.
Yeah.
And before then, having heard various live versions of Heart of the Sunrise, it kind of felt like one of those songs, at that time I was like, I was a teenager, about 14, I think. And, I'd heard various live versions of Heart of the Sunrise. And so I was kind of like, I can kind of take it or leave it. But it wasn't until I saw it live in that concert that I finally got it, and like the excitement of the song. And back then South Side of the Sky was my favorite Fragile song, but in the years since that concert, and having gotten more versions of South Side of the Sky on all these various tours, Heart of the Sunrise has kind of gotten slightly ahead of South Side of the Sky for me. So it's funny how these things fluctuate over time.
How much of it depends on the version versus just your taste for that music?
That's a good question because I feel like a lot of the songs, when I think of them, I think of the studio version, but there are some where like the live version is just it transcends so much that that kind of takes precedence. So I guess it's a mixture of both. I'm not sure what the percentage is really.
Interesting. Cool. Well, that's our show. Wishing Benoit David a very happy birthday and continued success in whatever he chooses to do. And we do hope that someday that music does come available again for others who did not get it the first time around. I did,
Yeah.
which is cool. And we got to see him, which was great. And again, Oliver joins us Saturday at noon. You can look on both the Yes Shift and Drum Talk TV Facebook page and YouTube channels to see a couple promos for that. One of them by Oliver himself, letting you know. And the website for Drum Talk TV Brilliance membership site is in the comments of wherever you're watching this as well. We'd love to see you there. And I know Oliver would as well. And then you'll learn about all the other fun stuff we have coming and going on. And where can everyone follow us, Steve?
You could just Google us.
There you go.
Yeah, go to @YesShift on YouTube and YesShift on Facebook, and type YesShift in various podcast apps. You'll probably find us. And you can write to us via yesshiftpodcast@gmail.com. Feedback, suggestions of yes or prog related topics. And yeah, that's our show. And don't quote me on this, but by the end of next week, there might be a news episode, even if it's just me, like, with scheduling and stuff, because of the recent like touring news that's come out, and that's gonna come out next week. So we'll still be putting out content. And yeah, definitely check out Drum Talk TV Brilliance and that live stream and Q&A that's going on tomorrow. And yeah, we'll see you all soon.
Thanks, everybody. And thanks for those participating, sending in comments. We love that. And we'll talk to you soon. Thanks.